Welcome to the Align Podcast with me, Tom Waller, and my great friend, Lee Lawton. Lee, welcome to the show today. I'm really excited to do another one of these.
Good morning, Tom. Yeah, episode 2. Let's go.
And it is a good morning. It's early, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is currently before 8 o'clock.
Which, for some people, is early, but I think the current phase of life we're in, it's not early at all.
Not so much. I've been up for nearly 4 hours.
Bloody hell. Well, me too. But I suppose before we start, why are you getting up so early? Because someone said this to me the other day, like, are you just trying to be that hustle entrepreneur kind of guy? I'm like, well, actually, no. You know, why are you getting up early?
So, a few reasons for me. One, because I really am not good at it. And it's introduced adversity into my life, which I think is a benefit. 2 is when you run a business and are into personal development, you just need more hours in the day. And having those hours in the morning to do my morning routine and get everything set up for the day are priceless.
It's so true. And we're going to do a podcast on morning routine. So if you're listening now, check out. We'll be out in a couple of episodes' time.
Yeah, be out this week.
So I find it serious. Somebody says, why don't you just work later? I'm like, I productivity bombs towards the end of the day.
Yeah, same. The nights, I heard someone say something about nothing happens in the evening. Someone said that, I can't remember who it was, but nothing happens in the evening, and it's true. Like, I don't seem to get anything done in the evening. I need, especially with my job, it's very creative, it needs to be in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, I need to get everything I can done in the morning, because after 3, and then I train at 3. So I'd love to train in the morning, but I train with my brother. He can only train in the afternoon, so I train at 3, and that gives me a bit more energy. But then I cook dinner and chill for a little bit, read, and then
enjoy your life,
time for bed.
It's quite funny, like, we're recording this now and I'm in my gym jumper because I trained this morning but forgot my freaking clothes on the way out the house. Text you in a mad rush, like, I'm going to be late, which is never normally a thing I do, but we're here. Today we're going to talk about personal development, which for you and I is like the thing we love the most.
Yep.
We both got our professions, both got our businesses. And I suppose if I think back, my business really took off when I started taking personal development seriously.
Yeah.
Like, I dabbled with business for quite some time. I dabbled with trying to be good at what I was doing. And I think there's a difference between being good at what you're doing and moving into greatness with what you're doing, and more actually owning who you are and what you do on such a level. And that comes from personal development. And I always say, one of the things that we said in the introduction show, one of the things I do is I coach chiropractors on how to run better businesses. And I always start with personal development first. There's no shortage, and you'll see this in any industry that you're in, there's no shortage of someone trying to get your more clients quickly, or get people to pay more, or more exposure. All these little tricks and tips exist.
Tips and tricks, yeah.
But they're so... It's like building a house on the sand. It'll just wash away. And the fable that says build your house on the rock is so true. But I'm intrigued to know, what was your intro to personal development? Where did it come from for you?
To be honest, it sounds a bit dramatic, but it pretty much saved my life. Like, I was on a path in my 20s where I was into a lot of bad habits and hanging around bad people and just not getting anywhere in life. And I was thinking about this morning, and the first personal development book I read was Success Principles by Jack Canfield. I don't know if you've read it.
I have not read that.
Yeah, so it's an all-encompassing personal development book, and I was, like we mentioned in the last episode, when I was at that job that I didn't enjoy, and I had that breakdown in the car and I realised that I needed to do something, that was when I started reading. And for me, personal development is just constant learning. That's all it comes down to. Learning and implementation. But learning. When I'm not working, I'm learning. If I'm driving, I'm listening to podcasts or audiobooks. At night, I listen to an audiobook. I read before bed. If I'm on the toilet, I'm learning. I'm learning all the time. And I was never like that when I was young, but when I started to do it, I noticed how my life had changed, and then it's just become just an ingrained thing for me.
I love that, but some people would say, like, oh, you're always learning, like, aren't you going to chill out and enjoy life? I love this saying that says, learn today like you will live forever and live today like you will die tomorrow.
Yeah.
I love that saying. And I say, what if I'm not choosing what I'm learning, if you're not choosing what you're learning, someone else is determining what's going in your brain,
Yeah.
and therefore someone else is determining the outcome of your life.
Yeah. For me, it's like, why wouldn't you do personal development? Like, why wouldn't
Great
you?
question.
Why wouldn't you want to be better and progress in life in all areas? So it originally started for me. I wanted freedom. I wanted freedom of time, freedom of location, and I wanted more money. That was where it started for me. And then it's progressed from then, and now it's more of a spiritual journey. So I've read a lot of books, Think and Grow Rich, and different books about manifesting and financial things. But now I find myself reading a lot of Neville Goddard, which is more about consciousness and spirituality. And it's just a progression of personal development.
And I think you're right in that sense. It is a progression. Tony Robbins sort of talks about it, and I think he looked into it, like, what is the definition of fulfillment? And it's growth. It's constantly learning, constantly growing. Now, someone says, why wouldn't you do personal development? And I think it's so ingrained in some people that they can't actually change their reality, so why bother?
Yeah.
And maybe that they've tried and been knocked a couple of times, and therefore I've gone, fuck it, this isn't even worth it. Like, I mean, have you? I've certainly had that experience. Have you ever had that experience? Like, you've been trying, it's been knocked, you're like, screw this, I'm not going to bother.
Yeah. Mainly in business. I started quite a few businesses that failed, and I was at the point where I was like, another one, do I do another one? And just kept going. And but it's the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset.
Yeah.
Some people believe that you are born with the skills that you have or the talents that you have, and you can't progress any further. And some people believe that you can improve yourself and grow, and I am proof that is true. And I've proven to myself over and over again that you are not stuck with your fixed mindset. Like, you're not fixed with what you can do. You can learn so much more and implement so much more. So yeah, that fixed mindset is bullshit.
It's bullshit. It pisses me off. Like, when I see people fall into that pity party, and I find it when I work with people, but all the people I've hired and employed, like, I always say to myself, the probability is that they will leave us at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And so long as they leave us a better person than when they started,
Yeah.
I am really happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I just on my gratitude this morning messaged one of my old employees. She's a lovely girl. She's currently expecting her first child. And I'm just so proud. Like, Sarah and I, like, look at our employees. We're so proud of them.
Yeah.
Because they've gone on to do better things. And some of them will do better things within our company and progress upwards, and some of them will take a lateral movement and go somewhere else. And that, for me, is proof that these mainly young girls and young boys who come and work with us, I say young, like early 20s, who think they're just going to do an admin job for the rest of their life, like, can be changed.
Yeah.
And it's giving them the confidence and the awareness that there is so much more available to them. And then just to see them go and hold them accountable to it, it's a beautiful thing. And for us as business owners and those who are listening who are business owners, to have that vision that's so much greater for your people than they see for themselves. It's what one of my coaches said, Mylette says, like, you've got to have a bigger vision for the people who work for you than they have for themselves. And that means the whole thing can grow. Yeah.
And training a team is something that I learn from you when I watch you do yours, because I've not built that big team yet. But that's just another level of fulfillment, right?
Yeah.
Just like you bringing people up and training them and helping them and allowing them to be better because they're working with you guys and progressing on even further.
Well, we'll do an episode on teams, I think.
Yeah.
Dude, I'd like to say your personal development, by the way, your coffee. It's amazing, by the way.
That is a level of personal development.
You like, I think the other day you moved into this office, you had coffee making, you're like, coffee is shit. And then you went and learned how to do it properly, and it just shows whatever you choose to put your mind to,
and
you can do.
A couple of months ago, I made you a shit coffee.
You did.
But I've always been okay at making coffees with milk.
Yes.
Like, I like the cappuccinos. But recently I've been cutting, so I'm trying to cut out the dairy and the calories. So the black coffee I've had to master recently.
What a great example for hiding behind something. Like, if you I'm making a coffee that's good made with milk, you're actually hiding behind the milk.
Yeah, it's easy to froth that milk and make it nice.
So true. But what about life? Like, people are hiding behind, and this is a big thing. This is like, back to my first point, like developing the person before their career. People hide behind their career. So we were talking before the show about the I am statements. I'd like to talk about this in a minute. But if you were to ask anyone who they are, they'd normally answer with, "Oh, I'm a chiropractor. I'm a digital media expert. I'm a car salesman." But that's not who you are.
That's what they do.
And that's a big difference, I think, in personal development, to know who you are first. And what I talk about when I work with people and what I've done for myself is, first you've got to identify your values, of which is who you are. Then you've got to figure out what your gifts are, actually what your talent is to bring to the world. And then the biggest thing that everybody misses, the glue between that and your reality, is a level of self-integrity, which the 4:30 wake-ups for us is. Like, I know you have integrity because we've agreed to meet here at a certain time. I may have failed at my integrity this morning by being a bit late, but we agreed to meet at a certain place at a certain time, therefore we have a level of integrity. But oftentimes people lack self-integrity, which is, I'm going to get up at 4:30 tomorrow. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to eat the right foods. I'm going to read every day. I'm going to choose to be uncomfortable and develop myself. And that lack of self-integrity means that you can do all these values exercises you want. You can know what you're good at, but you never bring it to fruition because you never hold the promise to yourself.
No, and that is when people say, I don't have any confidence, I don't have any self-belief, I don't believe I can do these things. That is because, and I've done it before in the past, you tell yourself you're going to do these things, and then you break your promises to yourself and you don't do them. And then it makes your subconscious mind think, well, you don't keep your word to yourself, so why would you be confident in anything? So every time you break a promise to yourself, you're chipping away at that confidence.
And I think it's a reason for people to start incrementally. Like, I think there's two ways you can get to a point in your life where you're like, screw this, I've got to change. And you change everything. Or you can start by just doing one little thing extra. Something I often teach when I'm teaching health to people. If you want to change your nutrition, just eat 1 carrot extra a day. And in a year, that's 365 extra carrots you've eaten. Just from one a day.
And I think different people respond differently, like you say. Like, for me, I'm very all or nothing.
Likewise.
And if I just try and do it a little bit, it won't stick. But if I say, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to absolutely, and stick to it. And 75 hard is a bit like that. Like, when you do that, it's all in, and it's good for me. I've found out from doing it that I tend to fall off afterwards. So now, this time, I've not put a time frame on anything with my personal development. And it's just constant and consistent, and it's just a way of life, and I just go about my tasks and I have them every day, and I just keep doing them.
I think that is a mindset shift, which 75 hard, like, if everyone's heard of it. Great program. Like, I've done it, my wife's done it, you've done it. It helps you see what's possible, and I think it's worth a lot of people doing. The only thing is, you're doing somebody else's program.
That's true.
And at the end, you've then got to decide, okay, I'm going to do me now. I'm going to do it for me and my way.
I think it's a good springboard if you are the sort of person who likes to go all in. And hasn't necessarily done loads of personal development and is in a position where you're struggling to make changes. I think 75 hard's great. I think it gives you that kick and gets you on a path and gives you those things to stick to. Maybe you don't know what you should be doing. I think it's a great way to get started. But where do you think people should start with personal development if they've not
ask you some questions.
done anything?
I think the first thing, like, there's a great saying, like, who says it? And I use this every time I speak, because the body moves, the brain grooves. As the body moves, the brain grooves. From a neurobiology perspective, your brain is ignited and kept alive and firing by movement of the body. And I think the fastest way to stimulate your body into change is exercise and movement. So I would start with committing to that early in the morning and reading some sort of personal development books. That's where I would start.
For me, it would be the reading. First learning something, picking up a book that on a topic that you know that you need to improve in and that you know you struggle with. So maybe you struggle with everything and you go for something like the success principles. Maybe you want to work out your morning routine. So there's a Miracle Morning, there's the 5 a.m. Club, there's a few good books on morning routines.
I think for starters, for people, 5 a.m. Club's a really good starter.
Yeah.
Because it is a...
It's not written like a...
Yeah, it's written like a novel.
It's a
So
story,
if you're not really used to reading self-help books, like it's... I thought it was a brilliant book. It's really engaging.
Yeah.
I would say starting there is a great point.
What about other books? Have you got 3 books that you like?
3 books. The most gifted book, and I'd love to go on the most gifted book, would be The Obstacle is Away. Ryan Holiday, The Obstacle is Away.
That is a really good book.
Because I normally work with people who are currently going through challenges, who've had a little bit of self-development before, and that book is a great way of showing them that the adversity you're going through is actually a really good thing.
Yeah.
And just to keep moving through it. The 5 a.m. Club for people who are getting started in personal development and trying to develop a morning routine.
Yeah.
And I haven't recommended it for a while, but there's a book called Killing Sacred Cows, which is really good on finance, and it's really good at changing the perspective of expense, investment, value. And the reason it's good is because it just changes the perspective on how the world is set up and just makes you think differently.
What's that called?
Killing Sacred Cows by Garrett Gunderson.
That's one that I haven't read.
And that was the one that actually really changed Sarah's perspective on life.
Yeah.
Enough to have the confidence to leave a career in the police force,
Okay.
which everyone believes is security and that's your life, to throwing in the towel and going, I don't know where I'm going to go, but I'm going to try something different. So yeah, those are probably the 3 books. But then there's Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah, that's on my list. So I'd say the Success Principles, because for me it was like the thing that kickstarted me into realizing that you really can make massive changes. And it talks about all areas, so it's nice. I think I actually listened to it the first time I got it. I've got hundreds of books on Audible. I love listening to audiobooks. I read as well every morning, but listening to audiobooks is great. If you don't like reading, give Audible a go. I think it's like £8 a month, and you get 1 credit a month, and then you can buy 3 extra credits for however much. Atomic Habits is a really good book that I liked, and Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich is just good for your mindset and to realize you need a definite purpose. So when I first started my business, I had a goal and I wrote it down and I read it every morning, and I eventually hit it, and it just cementing those things in your mind. And we was talking about vision boards this morning. One thing that when I first started my personal development journey, I was religious with my vision board, and I had them all the time, and I found them in my garage, and they had I don't even have a motorbike license yet. I'm doing it this year, and I put a white motorbike on my vision board, and then a friend of mine had this bike that it just turned up, and it was super cheap, and I had it, and I bought it off him. And then a year or 2 later, I looked at the old vision board, and it was on the vision board, and I bought it and flipped it and sold it and made a profit. But without even having a license, I manifested the bike that I wanted. So that's something that I've been a little bit slack on lately, and I really want to get back into that vision board, because I'm very visual with the video and the design and stuff that I do, and seeing those things is crucial for me.
I think vision boards are essential, and like we were talking about this morning, I visualize a bit every morning. I had a vision board, but I cleared my study out and I've moved it. But it's amazing when I think of some of the stuff that I've done. It started with a thought. Like everything starts with a thought. Thought, then the word, and then it comes.
The action.
Think and Grow Rich is interesting because there are so many. I spend a small fortune on books. I literally, they are everywhere in my house. It's littered with them.
Yeah. Same.
And every one of them is a version of Think and Grow Rich. You know, I think everyone, because that's one of the originals that people read.
Yeah.
And also reference back to teachings of Jesus in the Bible. It's all the same thing, but for a different word. And oftentimes people say, well, who am I to do this? Who am I to try and teach this or discover it? There's always someone for someone else. Oftentimes people think, oh, there's no point in me doing this because it's been done before, but it hasn't been done your way.
No.
It hasn't come your way. And I'd encourage everyone just to make a start. And if you're already into personal development and you're doing great, then I hope this is spurring you on to do more. But I suppose on that note, like, what are some things that you've seen come to fruition that you know are certainly attached? I mean, the motorbikes you just given, but certainly attached to your commitment to personal development.
My whole life, really.
Yeah.
My business, my relationship, my vehicles. You know, I love cars, and when I was 21, I was desperate for the Audi S3, and now I'm in a position where I've been able to buy one, and it's not my first car, so I'm able to keep the mileage down. My relationships with my family are better. Like, one thing that I wanted to talk about, which is a little bit of a tangent, is, but we'll just do it anyway, is the current state of the world and the importance of personal development for that, and how it affects, because it's easy to get downhearted and disheartened when you start to see the things that are going on in the world, and it can sometimes feel hopeless, and what's the point in doing personal development, and what's the point in trying to progress, and everything's going to pot. But it's important to inspire others around you through what you do and the way you live, and the only way you can make life and the world better is by being a better example.
It's so true. Can I go on a rant?
Yeah, go for it.
I would say, like, with this is a couple of fold. Like, we look at our lives in the Western world and how privileged we are, and then we say, before like the current state of affairs, you'd look to people in poorer countries and think, you know, it's so unfair that they've got that and I've got this, and what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
If you were to flip it and they would look at your life and you're not going for everything that you can possibly achieve, like, you are spitting in the face of that person who hasn't got the opportunity. And the only way you can potentially improve that person's life is to improve your life to better theirs, because the only way you can really better their life, you need money to do that. Mm-hmm. Like you say, I don't need money, I can volunteer my time. There's only so much time you can volunteer before you've got to pay your bills. Yeah. And if you want to get out there, you've got to do it. So, for instance, I was this week meant to be in India doing some voluntary work for communities out there. And part of that was to raise money. Now, I've not gone for other circumstances, but I put an event and I asked people in our profession to donate money to it. Mm-hmm. And because they're abundant, they can. And this charity is now setting up schools. It's providing women's aid. There's chiropractors out there right now, feet on the ground, doing it. And they could only do that if there's a successful practice to move away from. I then say, right back to the start of what we spoke about, your mindset is your sphere in life. And if you don't choose what you put in your mind, someone else will put that into your mind. Mm-hmm. So if we look at the current state of affairs in the world, go and ask anyone, and I'm talking now really pertaining to the UK, and that probably reflects in other Western countries. You speak to anyone who owns a business, they don't really see what's going on in the news. Like, I was just in town with Sarah the other day. People are spending money. Mm-hmm. There is not a shortage right now. Businesses are still doing well. Mm-hmm. Those who choose to push their business, those who choose to continue to make a difference. And why does a business exist? It exists to solve a problem for the customer. So if you continue to try and do that in a creative way, you're still going to thrive. So it is incumbent on us to continue our personal development right now, because if we can create those pockets of positivity, those pockets of change, and we see that people are still continuing to do what they do, that is reality, not what you're shown necessarily on the news. And there's a great film, and I used to do a talk on this, a Pixar film called Ants. And the Pixar film Ants was about these colony of ants that were suppressed by these wasps. These wasps are much bigger than the ants, but one ant realizes that they far outnumber the wasps. Mm-hmm. And as soon as they realize that, they take over. Mm-hmm. And that is so true for society. Currently, there's a lot of wasps putting a lot of media out there, saying a lot of stuff that, quite frankly, a lot of it is bullshit because it doesn't reflect in what we see here.
Yeah.
And if enough of us turn around and realise that and start to project what we want from life in the world, we can selfishly improve our lives, but you have to be selfish to be selfless. And if you want to contribute and make the world a better place, you better make yourself successful so you can do that.
So what I got from that is it just comes back to fear and love.
Yeah.
Self-love, love for others, inspiring others through your own acts, or being fearful. And it's easily done. I'm guilty of it. Like, I see the things that are going on. I had to remove myself from YouTube for a while because I was getting so involved in it. And then I found that it was bringing up fear inside me. And then I had to reframe, reposition, and refocus back onto love and personal development and service and just trying to be the best I can be for those around me who I'm in contact with.
100%. And people sometimes, like, the culture says that successful people are selfish, successful people are treading on other people. Again, frankly bullshit, because if you think that successful people are successful because they've generated wealth or money, they've generated wealth or money because they have some kind of business or concept. A business only exists if it solves a problem for the customer. Therefore, they are only successful if they are making other people's lives better.
Yep, the market decides.
Going off, I'm so sorry. It's something that really rattles my cage, and it is. And we spoke about this before we turned on the cameras. It is I am love. It is I am self. It is actually what can I do for others. And the only way you can do something for others is showing up as the best version of you. And if you do that, you really will inspire and impact other people's lives. And if that is your focus, then you can make your life better and the people's lives around you better. If you're focused on yourself too much and what's in it for you, the fear builds and you'll receive all this stuff and it will negate your success.
So that's why you do personal development. Let's leave it there for today, shall we?
Absolutely.
Basically, that's it. So thank you for listening, as always. This is the second episode, and we're going to be releasing episodes in consecutive days for the first 5 days, and then they're going to be weekly. So please, if you enjoyed this, leave a review on Apple iTunes and Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Please share this with anybody you think can get benefit from it, and we will see you in the next episode.